NBA 2K has found themselves in an interesting spot with the whole MyCareer mode, and I've mentioned this in previous videos, and this happened really fast. But if you didn't notice, NBA 2K19 is going to be the 6th 2K game to release for the PS4 and Xbox One. Yes, we're already that far into this generation of consoles. That also means that this is 2K's 6th crack at a story for MyCareer. You know, the whole animations and the cutscenes and the stories and the characters, all the stuff they've been doing. This is their 6th story they're going to be releasing. And I give them a try every single year, as in not just the story, but the whole MyCareer as a mode, going through the season and trying to win a championship. I give MyCareer a try every single year, and I can never get through these. I always stop after about the first week. And that was different for me coming to the PS4, because when I was on the PS3 and playing 2K13, I actually played MyCareer for quite a bit before finally putting it away. So I came into NBA 2K19 The Prelude with an open mind, because I want to see what they're going to do this year. Last year was unbearable with Be Fresh. I could not get through that. You couldn't skip cutscenes, and then nobody was on the park, so I kind of ditched MyCareer as a whole. And hoping for something a little bit better this year, I played the entire Prelude last night, and I finally got down to the point of why I can never get through MyCareers, not just the stories, but MyCareer as a whole, the season, why I stopped playing it, and then I tried to go to the park, and if that's good, maybe I stay there. But I think I finally understand why I just can't vibe with this. I'll start with the positives. I will say, for all the 2Ks that they've been doing this whole story mode thing from 2K14 to now, so far in the little bit that we got in the Prelude, I will say so far, this one is at least bearable and a little bit interesting, might I say. Normally 2K stories are just complete cringe and the cutscenes don't serve any kind of purpose. They're all pointless and they're a waste of time, which is why so many people wanted to be able to skip them. Well, okay, let's stop right there. Cringe is always going to be a part of MyCareer. I've come to accept that now. Whoever's writing the stories, that's just their aim. They just want to be corny, and that's just what happens. So cringe is already in the Prelude. However, a big step in the right direction I see so far is a little bit of character development, because your character is overseas and there's a clear struggle with him being over there and wanting to be in the NBA, and then you got Corey, who seems a little bit like a cockblock, to be honest. That's already a little bit more interesting, because normally there's no character development. It's just a bunch of characters saying random and corny lines that nobody really cares about. But here there's actually somewhat of a story developing that seems kind of interesting to me. So although there's definitely cringe, like when you have to dunk on him and you pick whatever dunk you're going to do, that all those, like when they cut in the middle of the game and you do something, all of those are always whack, alright? But the actual story itself seems like it's going to be decent. But upon getting into the actual gameplay, this is why I can't play MyCareer. First of all, the Prelude is absolutely scripted, and I don't remember if 2K18 was like this, but the Prelude really just goes along with what MyCareer has been for years, which is just way too easy. MyCareer story mode, no matter what difficulty you play it on, is not a challenge, and in the Prelude it's exaggerated. And to me, in my opinion, MyCareer is almost like a satirical take on the career of a real basketball player. And it's way too much satire for a game that's trying to be a simulation of actual basketball. So I'm playing the Prelude last night, and in the story they say you're gonna go up against this guy called the Flying Dragon, who I'm assuming it's the guy whose name starts with Q. He was dominating, and they made it seem like he was gonna be my matchup, except that never happened. I was matched up against some generic guy on the other side, and I never once guarded the star player, even though they gave me an objective to hold him under 20 points. And the same thing happened later in the All-Star game. At halftime, regardless of what you do, you talk to Corey at halftime, and Corey says the coaches match you guys up, and it seems like, you're about to push that rivalry forward. And I don't know if this happened to y'all, but we didn't get matched up. I kept guarding Stephen Curry and Damian Lillard. I never guarded him once, so that was already a bit weird. But then you have things like how no matter what you do, your team is gonna win unless you just let the controller sit idle. You're basically gonna win. In the regular games against the Chinese teams, we were always up by like 20 plus, because after I go to sit out, no matter what the score was, we ended up. But then we got to the game against the All-Stars, and I thought for sure it was gonna be realistic. We were just gonna get blown out. And then I have my 5'6" teammates stripping Anthony Davis in the post. I see Karl Anthony Towns missing layups over 5-foot guys. 5-foot people in the post, and he's missing layups so we can come back, because you start the half down 10, and if you just give the slightest bit of effort, you're pretty much gonna win that game. You can jam square, you can pick Steph Curry, you can pick Damian Lillard. No matter who it is, you can steal the ball from anybody you want in this Prelude. And I get it, because this is really comparable to what happened in NBA 2K16. If you remember, you were a high school star, so you were supposed to be way better than everybody else, so there was just no resistance. You got to go dominate, and that was just the first stage of your career. I get that my player probably won't dominate the NBA as easy as this, but this just goes along with the theme of what my career has been for years to me, and it's where you don't really have to work for anything. The last time I feel like I truly had to work to be good at my career was NBA 2K13. Yes, there was VC, but even then it was a little bit more difficult to get a win or to carry your team to a title. Back in the older 2Ks, which you've seen in my review with 10 and 11, you had to work your way through the summer circuit, and you couldn't just dominate the summer circuit. It wasn't satire like it is here. You actually had to work for something. And I feel like ever since the PS4 and Xbox One came out, 2K has given my career such a satirical take that it's just so easy to be the most important player in NBA history in your rookie season. And that's why, aside from the story, that's why I can never get through the seasons, because I could get drafted by anybody. I could get drafted by the Nets, or I can pick my teams, right? In the later ones, you can pick your teams. You can go to any team, and as long as you give the slightest bit of effort and you upgrade the right things, by the end of the season, you can wind up having taken your team that maybe wasn't even in the playoffs the year before to a championship after you've beaten the Golden State Warriors in the Western Conference Finals 4-0. And that's with most teams. I guarantee you, because I'm gonna, if you're allowed to pick what team you can be on in 2K19, I'm gonna pick a team without a point guard because that's my position, and I don't want to join the Celtics and be on the same team as Kyrie. That's just stupid. But say I join like the Nuggets because they don't have a superstar point guard. I guarantee you, if I thoroughly play this mode and I focus, I can have the Nuggets beat the 5 all-star roster of the Golden State Warriors in the wherever we meet them in the playoffs, and then I can go on to win the championship very, very easily. And I can also, as a rookie, easily be averaging like 30 points and 10 assists or something crazy like that very, very easily in my career, and it's been done many times, and that's why I never end up going through with it. So in the end, what usually happens is once my career becomes too easy, there's no challenge left, you know you're going to win a championship, whatever happens, I usually just end up going to the park. Whatever the park is that year, I always use the park way more than I actually use the story mode, because there you actually find a challenge that you're looking for. And for my career to draw me back in, you know, it really has nothing to do with the story, especially because you can skip cutscenes. The story is just extra. Like the fact that I'm curious about what happens at the end of the Prelude when you're in Los Angeles, I think that's pretty cool, but that's not what draws me. When 2K19 comes out, I'm gonna play it because I always play the career mode. I always try to see if I can get into it, so I'm gonna see if there's something there that grabs my attention. But I would need something like, there's a feature that I don't ever hear anybody talk about, and the last time I remember it being around was 2K13, and a lot of you didn't know, but there was a time where you could edit the rosters and you could put legends on the rosters. Like you could have Magic Johnson playing for a certain team. You could do the same thing you do with My League, and you could do it in My Career. All you had to do was save the roster and then start a My Career with that same roster loaded, and then all of a sudden you would have a really challenging My Career, and it would be fun because you would have your player and you would be playing with maybe Michael Jordan or Hakeem. You'd be playing with other legends and you'd be playing against other legends. Now that I can get up for. That sounds like a lot of fun. That sounds like a challenge. And that's what I really miss, the freedom to customize your own My Career experience. Because it's become so story driven and they've added so much satire, something like that I'm gonna assume is probably not in 2K19 because they want to push this relationship with Corey, and you know, they want to have regular rosters so the story can make sense. They don't want Hakeem on the court and, you know, your player has some line that doesn't make sense with that. That's why I doubt that anything like that is going to be possible again. And speaking of that, this is something that I meant to mention at the beginning of the video. It's almost like 2K has trapped themselves, in my opinion, with these stories, because on one hand you have people like me and pretty much everyone else. I've never really seen anybody say that they enjoyed these stories as much. You know, some people enjoyed the 2K16, like some of the characters, but as a whole nobody's ever really cared for all the cutscenes. That's why people wanted to skip them so bad. But my question has always been, and I said this in a previous video when we were reviewing like 2K10 or 2K11, could you ever play a My Career again that didn't have all this extra stuff? Because imagine if they dropped 2K20 and there's no story or there's nothing to really push your player along. You just go and do interviews and you come out of the interviews and work on your game. I wonder if people could play that type of My Career again. I wonder if that would ever keep anybody's interest. For me, aside from just being able to customize my own experience and add legends and all of that, I think making theirs, well, this kind of sounds like copycat, but I'll go ahead and put it out there. To me, Live has a better career mode because it's not ridiculously story driven with these, you know, long drawn out cutscenes scenes of people singing in bars and all this stuff that really doesn't have anything to do with anything. Their career mode seems kind of short, sweet, and to the point. You have a mentor, you get some text messages, you decide what you want to say back to him, and you're trying to upgrade your player and pick your crew. To me, they have it spot on, and it's just a shame that their gameplay isn't where 2K's is, with the authenticity and the animations and all that. That's really what they're missing. But when you talk about just a story of a baller trying to make it to the NBA, to me, as far as what players probably want, NBA Live is a lot closer, because like I said, 2K is in this space where they're gonna have to have something. Now, the days of just having an interview and going back to drills, I don't think that's ever gonna happen, and you gotta have some kind of interactive mode, and I think Live gets that much right. So as far as my thoughts on the Prelude, I'm not much more moved than I was last year. Again, I'm a little bit more captured by the story. I think this is definitely more interesting than any Be Fresh or any DJ, whatever they had last year. Stupid. Any Orange Juice. While I'm on the topic of Orange Juice, that goes back to the whole satire thing I'm talking about. You remember in 2K17, you and that guy that you did the Orange Juice duo with, you ended up on the same team. And whenever you pass to him and he makes a shot, the whole game would stop and you guys would point to each other. See, it's that type of satirical bullshit that just keeps me away from MyCareer. I hate that. On the other hand, you have Live, where if you do something cool in the game, they show people in the crowd on Instagram Live filming you. I thought that was a pretty nice touch, without being all extra and having the game stop and having you windmill on your opponent and yell to the crowd and then you just pop back into the gameplay. To me, that just feels like a mess. And if you were looking for me to talk about gameplay, I can't judge the gameplay off the Prelude because, again, you can't change the difficulty of the Prelude as far as I know, so you're just blowing people out and you're stripping Steph Curry and somehow dominating NBA stars already, and you're not even what, I'm a 70 overall or something like that, or maybe even lower than that. So, when 2K19 drops next week, I'm gonna do what I always do. I'm gonna give it a try and I'm gonna see if it can draw me in this year, but as for now, I definitely know the answer to why I can never ever really get into MyCareer and finish it.